in my life, I've had a, fair share of grinding it out and having to have momentum, behind you. And you always, I've always found that whenever, I start a project, whether it's in my filmmaking or my physical fitness life, I always found that whenever you stop that momentum, it's always harder to, sort of jump back in, regain that momentum. So it's super easy. Like, I don't want to say it's super easy, but once, if you're riding on that wave of momentum, it's a lot easier to just continuously put one step in front of, another. It's harder if you fall down to get back up, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting you bring up like the physical aspects, because I think that is also something that I've noticed as a trend, both personally and with folks that I talk to. When they have, it makes sense, right? When you're taking care of your body, things tend to follow off of that. You feel better, you start making better health and nutrition decisions, and it's that momentum aspect of it. But yeah, I'd love to backtrack and hear when you mentioned physical fitness. I kind of thought back to, I was doing some research, and it looks like you started in, as far as filming, doing kind of some jujitsu. That was kind of like you're doing some different trainers and coaches. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so we can dive into that, or I can kind of dive into, what led me, to that. And yeah, so, being that you mentioned the physical fitness stuff, there was a time in my life where I was going through a divorce. I had to move back in with my parents. I was completely broke. I took on a lot of the debt during the divorce. And really, I had like not a nickel to my name. It was like, I wasn't sure if I could even buy a pie of pizza at the end of the week, and I was also 280 pounds, right? So, right now I walk around at, about 175. And the reason I bring that up is because it was through the journey of trying to lose the weight, of going through this physical transformation, that I was able to really learn a lot about myself. And it taught me the lesson that that if you put in the hard work, something that we talked about, before the show, if you put in the hard work, you can achieve the things that you set out for. And at the end of my transformation, my physical transformation, I said, what else? How far can I take this? What else can I do? And it really led me onto a journey of becoming physically fit, but then also mentally fit as well, right? I started to read books, and I became sort of obsessed with this idea of, how do I make myself better? How can I make myself a better human being? Not only mentally, but physically, and then of course, financially. And then years later, after I went through that transformation, I started doing jujitsu. And within about, I want to say about 3 years or 4 years, something like that, of doing jujitsu, I decided to, just to kind of pick up a camera and interview my jujitsu coach. He was doing a belt promotion. And I thought it'd be interesting to do something for the school where we interview him, his mindset, and why he, what his thoughts are on jujitsu. And in that interview, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the connections that the sport has with everyday life. Like, one of the examples that he gave me was, if you're typically getting armbarred in, in while you're rolling or in a match, if you're constantly getting armbarred by somebody, it's not what they're doing, it's what you're doing wrong. And if you, and it's the same thing in life. If you're constantly getting into an argument with somebody, or people off the street, or your friends, and you're constantly having a problem with people, odds are it's not them, it's typically you. And after I finished editing that interview, I'm like, shit, man, he's 100% right. And I started interviewing another coach, and I learned a lot of valuable lessons from that. And I just kept on that journey until one of the coaches actually said to me, "Hey, Sam, I love the video you did. And I was just doing this as a hobby." And he goes, "I'd love to pay you to do some of the coaches that work for me." And I said, "Shit, man, like, wow, like I never even imagined that somebody would be willing to pay me for my hobby. It's like if you had a hobby collecting toys or building models and somebody all of a sudden said, I'd love to commission you. It's like, I do this because I love it. I'll do the videos for free.
Yeah.
And that's when I just said, shit, like I actually can maybe do something with this.